I'm sure by now that you've already seen the news. This is the week that we're going to find out whether Anthem lives or dies. And as a gamer and a developer myself, I wanted to weigh in, give some insight as to what has been leading up to this and hopefully what we'll see happen. But there's a stark reality that it might not go our way, and that's not necessarily bad either. So I'm going to talk about all these different kind of angles, and I'd love to hear your thoughts, obviously, in the comments of this video. But let's dive in. Hello, everyone. My name is Brian. This is Ginger Prime. This is kind of a somber topic. In a way, I need Anthem to be saved. I'll live if it's not, but I would be crushed by that aspect. I've been hopeful for a future, let's say there's a thin hope, an ignorant hope, because we are dealing with executives. We are dealing with the money in this case, and that's who is going to make the choice. The developers aren't going to have a say in this. Over the course of the last year, Anthem's team has been shrunk down into a very agile, focused team to be able to find the fun, fix the issues, iterate quickly, and come up with a plan and demonstrate that plan. And that's what's happening this week. That team of 30 is going to be able to present to the executives their plan, their vision for Anthem, hopefully a decent one, and then going to present the cost. What's it going to take that game and bring it to bat? What's it going to take to cost, keep it up? And that decision's ultimately going to come down to EA, who's already invested over 7 years, 9 I guess technically now, into the game, who already basically said pull the trigger, release the game, and we'll have to see if Anthem goes on living. So chances are, and the hope isn't, it isn't misplaced, it is just very thin. It's like a thin line. There is a small chance that Anthem will move on, but there's still the chance, and I want to kind of explore that. I want to explore the idea, should this happen at all? I know there's definitely an argument to be made, and a respectable one that says, hey, they tried, they failed, we shouldn't give them the ability to try again, because it only encourages others to follow suit. And I can respect that, but I can respect that and disagree with that at the same time. I think Anthem should be saved. I think it needs to be saved. I think the promise that was made at E3 in 2017 should have the ability to be realized, not just for the sake of gamers, but for those who poured themselves into it in a working environment that not necessarily was the best. I think people can be changed. I think the internet has a hard time forgiving, but I think forgiveness is an important part of the human aspect. And I think a part of that forgiveness isn't just them saying sorry. It's them saying, sorry, here you go. We've solved the problems, we've identified it, and it won't happen again. We've learned our lesson. And I think when gamers do that, or when developers do that in this case, I think that if we don't acknowledge their effort, then we're only encouraging companies not to apologize and not to put in the effort. But anyway, it's a very complex and troubling and problematic problem, right? Because it's like, I don't think anybody's wrong. I don't think you're wrong if you want Anthem just to go away and never come back, and I don't think you're wrong if you want Anthem to live on and become something, and become hopefully something that we've all wanted to see for a long time. So it's comes down to this week. There's been a lot of disappointment, I think, over the last year, and I think that's why, personally speaking, I would love to see Anthem return. I would love to see Anthem be realized. I would love to see it compete with other games on the market, because I think competition is what's really good for us as gamers, but also a little bit of variety. At the same time, whether Anthem lives or dies, I'll go on living. It's not going to bother me or destroy me in a way, because there's other really good games that are on their way, and there's other really good games that are out there right now. I would love to see it happen, though. I would love to see it happen for the sake of BioWare, for the sake of their future games, for the sake of restoring trust. What's interestingly happening also right now is the Mass Effect Legendary Edition is going to be coming out later this year. I think Anthem should be fixed, not only because of for the gamers who purchase it, but also for the fact that the Legendary Edition, while I'm excited for it, it's in a way we've seen more of a, hey, remember us when we were great? Here's that game again kind of aspect. And I would love to see something new, a fresh take, something that is big, grand, and bold from the studio, just a vision that's kind of clearly focused and delivers upon its promise, while at the same time not having to harken back to like the greatest hits. I think it's kind of like in my mind, the analogy that they use for the code name they used for Anthem in and of itself, focusing in on music. It's like kind of when a band kind of just like, yep, we don't really have any new stuff for you. We're just going to fall back onto the greatest hits. Like, oh God, that's for me, not necessarily the best sign. It's not the worst sign, but just, yeah, that's where we're at with that. So, man, I would love at the end of this week to get some really good news. I think even if you're in the no Anthem camp, I would love to see some good news this week, just for the sake, I guess, of, I don't know, of fun. And I'll let you guys know how that goes. We'll be sure to cover it this week on the podcast for sure. Hopefully it's going to be something like really good news. Everything they've been showing off is interesting, but there's a cost to that. We know that cost. We know the engine that they chose. We know the decisions they made. And what would happen here if they do get approval, then essentially we know that they would staff up and put the focus in on getting all the work done. So hopefully what they're presenting to EA is not just like a working prototype, but also a full project plan. Like, hey, this is it. We've got our stuff together. We're not going to be sitting here kind of like trying to figure this out. We know what we need to build. We're going to build that. We're going to release it. So what does that mean for gamers if the news comes back says good? Well, that means that we're probably going to be looking at Anthem as a next-gen forward title. Like, I wouldn't expect to see, if they're still just doing the presenting and they haven't got full approval for a full rework, I wouldn't expect that this is going to be a 2021 game, which feels about right, especially with all the conversation they've had. So for the Anthem community, this would almost be an Anthem 2 rather than a 2.0. This would almost be like a, and I don't know how the heck they would sell it, because I'm sure it's EA and they're going to want to try to sell it and try to get some of the money that they've invested back into it. Even though I think Anthem is actually one of the top selling games of 2019, interestingly enough. So I'm sure they probably recoup that investment. And the question is that, are they willing to reinvest? Are gamers willing to give it another shot? If they do, and how would that look monetarily? Would you pay for Anthem next? Should it be free? Should it be a free-to-play game with a different monetization policy? What would have you, the skeptical gamer, give it another shot? I'd love to know, because honestly, for me, they can't ask me for money. I've already paid, and they have yet to deliver the product I paid for. Even though I did find enjoyment in the core aspect of the game, even though I did find enjoyment with the javelins, there are things that with an Anthem that I think are worth saving, and there's things that needed to be completely redone. And that's just the way it is. So I'm going to leave it at that. Those are my thoughts. If you guys have thoughts of your own, I'd love to hear them. I'd love to know your answers to the questions in that case, because there's a lot of interesting things happening in the world of gaming, and not all of it's great, and some of it is pretty great. So at the end of the day, again, love to hear your thoughts. Let me know in the comments. Thanks for being here. Hopefully this was an interesting video. At least, it's an interesting topic, even though it is somber, it is hopeful, it is concerning. It is what it is, and we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, guys, for Ginger Prime, my name's Brian. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. I hope to see you in my next video, but until then, take care. This video is sponsored by me, Ginger Prime. Hopefully you'll check out my podcast channel, Ginger Gaming Radio, which we have lots of guests, lots of great conversations, and even more highlights. Links are in the description below. Let me know what you think. Thanks.